Tonight, more discontent this summer. NHS workers vote overwhelmingly to reject a pay offer, bringing Scotland ever closer to a strike in the health service. One nurse tells us she's facing the worst struggle in her 34 years.
Not only due to pay, it's due to the fact that we cannot retain staff, we cannot recruit staff, and that leads to unsafe staffing levels for our patients.
Also making the headlines, a man appears in court charged with murdering his brother-in-law and attempting to murder 3 others, including his wife.
Glasgow is shortlisted to host the Eurovision Song Contest.
In sport, new Motherwell boss Stevie Hamill spells out his vision for the club.
And I'm live as the Edinburgh International Film Festival gets underway, chatting to star of the opening movie After Sun, Paul Mescal.
I'm Emma Cameron in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. Scotland is closer than ever tonight to a strike in the NHS after workers in a number of unions voted overwhelmingly to reject a 5% pay offer. One experienced nurse has told STV News health staff are facing a financial crisis on top of the pressures in work.
The dispute involves staff right across the health service, apart from doctors. The Health Secretary says he's disappointed, but that negotiations will continue. Here's our senior reporter, Gordon Cree.
Shirley's a community nurse. She's on her summer holidays. Some relief, she says, because it means she doesn't have to spend money putting petrol in her car. And she told me her colleagues are facing the worst struggle in her 34 years in the health service.
We've had enough, and it's because not only due to pay, it's due to the fact that we cannot retain staff, we cannot recruit staff, and that leads to unsafe staffing levels for our patients, and our patients are the most important thing to us.
Today, unions representing NHS staff, including nurses, radiologists, physiotherapists, domestics and even psychiatric workers at Carstairs, voted to reject a 5% pay rise. Some of them have asked for inflation plus 5%, which would currently mean around 17%. The RCN is now organising a ballot for strike action.
They don't want to take industrial action, it's the last resort, but they feel they're not being recognised and not being listened to. You know, a life of service shouldn't mean that you move to poverty.
The various unions involved in this dispute are in a pretty strong position. They know that coordinated strike action could bring the health service to its knees. So, for finding a resolution, the ball is now back in the court of the employer, and that is the Scottish Government.
Naturally, I'm going to be disappointed that it's been rejected. Equally, I respect the mandate that trade unions have been given by the members. So it's now imperative that ourselves, the trade unions, get back around the table promptly and get to a satisfactory outcome.
For those talks to be successful, it looks like any pay offer will have to be substantially better than that put forward so far. Gordon Cree, STV News, Edinburgh.
And the strike news continues this evening. Unions have branded COSLA's latest pay offer of 3.5% as a dire response to the cost of living crisis. Refuse workers across the country announced today they will walk out for 8 days in the coming weeks.
The Scottish Government says it has committed £140 million to help with a pay rise, which they claim is enough to raise the offer to 5%. Ivana Holland reports.
The summer of discontent continues. Unions have said the pay offer of 3.5% from council leaders today will almost certainly lock in more strikes, as refuse workers plan to walk out in 2 4-day stoppages in August and September. Last month, an offer of 2% was rejected by unions, as they say they won't accept what amounts to a real terms pay cut.
After 2 years on the front line during the pandemic, the idea that these low-paid workers would accept what is the equivalent of around a tenner a week is just ridiculous. And amid the bills going up, rent going up, transport, everything going up, Scotland's key workers are still waiting on a new and improved pay offer. And unless the Scottish Government come back with a significantly improved pay offer, one which actually addresses the cost of living crisis, our members won't be accepting it.
The Scottish Government says the recurring £140 million it has committed is enough to have made a bigger offer to the workers.
We can't force COSLA to increase their offer from 3.5% to 5%, but we certainly encourage them to do so. At the end of the day, these are all public resources that we're talking about here, and we need to do that on a partnership basis with COSLA matching the offer that we have put on the table.
It was already confirmed waste and recycling staff in Edinburgh would strike during the Fringe for 11 days, starting next Thursday. One leader got into character to emphasise his point.
And let's just put it this way, I really hope that I'm not walking down the Royal Mile getting a nice rat buffet because of the strikes and waste is going to pile on the streets. I hope that is avoided.
No one was available to speak from COSLA, but in a statement said jobs will be affected and communities will see services reduced as local government budgets are unable to sustain the long-term pressures they've been under. Unions will now ballot their members. Ivana Holland, STV News.
Well, with the cost of living crisis biting and rising energy bills very much in people's minds, hundreds gathered outside Scottish Power's headquarters in Glasgow this afternoon to protest.
The Power to the People campaign are calling for a freeze on energy price rises and an end to prepayment meters. Our political reporter Laura Alderman was there.
What do we want? When do we want it?
As the weather heats up, so too are the tempers of these protesters in Glasgow today. The Power to the People campaign gathered outside Scottish Power headquarters to fight back against soaring energy costs.
It doesn't feel that anything's moving on at any level of government, whilst we see massive billions of pounds worth of profits being made by the wholesale companies. There's a catastrophe waiting for our communities and we need to do something about it. Prepayment meters, we think there's going to be a serious problem there. Effectively, people could be cutting themselves off, right? So that's a worry. So we need companies to commit to no more of those.
David is an academic and has different rates of income every month. With the energy price cap set to rise in October, like millions of others across the country, his winter is looking bleak.
My bills went up in April. I was paying £80 a month for my gas and electric combined. They've now gone up to 130. British Gas put me up to 130 over the summer. And I have no idea how much they're going to be in October. This is really going to be the first time that I'm seriously faced with a prolonged period of being in debt. There's many people who are in debt right now who are going to be plunged into the depths of poverty.
When do we want it?
Protesters here say if their demands aren't met, then scenes like this will become much more frequent in the coming weeks and months. And now they're taking their message to the doors of Scottish Power.
We're demanding that the government implement the price freeze. If they don't implement a price freeze on the 1st of October, we've got a lot more tactics that we can bring to bear. So, balls in their court. I think the government are walking into this with their eyes shut. They don't understand the level of the crisis. That's because the Cabinet are made up of a bunch of millionaires and billionaires. They don't understand what's happening to ordinary people.
Scottish Power said the cost of living crisis is bigger than just one industry, and they're engaging with Ofgem and the government to find a solution. Boris Johnson has now instructed UK ministers to work on a plan for a four-nations meeting to discuss help available for struggling households. But with annual energy bills forecast to top £4,200 in January, an impossible winter of hardship is inevitable for many. Laura Alderman, STV News, Glasgow.
To our other main story today now, and a man has appeared in court in Inverness charged with murdering his brother-in-law. Finlay MacDonald from Skye is also charged with attempting to murder his wife Rowena, the mother of their 4 children.
He faces a further 2 charges of the attempted murder of a local chiropractor and his wife. Ian Ramage reports.
39-year-old Finlay MacDonald appeared in private here at Inverness Sheriff Court on a charge of murdering his brother-in-law John McKinnon. MacDonald from Tascaveg in the south of Skye is also charged with attempting to murder his 32-year-old wife Rowena, the mother of his 4 children. He faces 2 further charges of the attempted murder of chiropractor John Don Mackenzie and his wife Faye on the mainland. The incidents are said to have taken place on Wednesday at Tascaveg and Dorney in Wester Ross. MacDonald made no plea to repeatedly discharging a shotgun at his sister's husband John, shooting him on the body, severely injuring him and murdering him. The shooting is said to have taken place at Cheng on Skye. Prior to that, McDonald's accused of stabbing his wife with a knife or similar instrument to her severe injury and danger of life. After Mr McKinnon's death, McDonald is said to have repeatedly used the shotgun on Mr Mackenzie, striking him on the body to his severe injury and danger of life. Mrs Mackenzie was also shot on the head and body to her severe injury and permanent disfigurement. McDonald appeared at Inverness Justice Centre this afternoon, where his solicitor made no application for bail. Finlay MacDonald was committed for further examinations and remanded in custody. He'll appear in court again within the next 8 days. Ian Ramage, STV News.
3 people were hospitalised after a gas explosion in the Lanarkshire town of Straven. The explosion happened in a butcher's on Green Street, but quickly spread to 2 flats above the shop.
Residents described flames engulfing the building, which took fire crews several hours to bring under control. Police and fire crews remain at the scene, as Caroline Lewis reports.
A business overwhelmed by flames. Residents described their fear when they were met with these dramatic scenes in the early hours of this morning. A blaze that took 6 fire engines to bring under control. And this afternoon, the efforts of the emergency services continue.
This afternoon, there's still a lot of activity down here in Straven, with police and the fire service remaining on the scene. Well, the fire was caused by a gas explosion in the butcher's shop just over my shoulder, but quickly spread to 2 residential flats that were above it. Well, one resident told me she was shocked and saddened by last night's events, and that the butcher's shop was a popular and busy local business.
2 men and a woman were taken to hospital, but their conditions are not thought to be serious. Nearby properties were evacuated and adjacent businesses and roads remain closed as firefighters make the area safe. But while the fire is now out, for residents of this usually quiet town, the shock of last night's explosion will surely take longer to overcome. Caroline Lewis, STV News.
Other stories across Scotland, and the funeral of Celtic legend John Yogi Hughes has taken place in Glasgow. The player, who is part of the club's famous European Cup winning squad known as the Lisbon Lions, died earlier this month, aged 79.
A second cruise ship to house Ukrainian refugees will be docked in Glasgow. The Scottish Government have announced the MS Ambition will provide accommodation for up to 1,750 people. It's expected to be fully operational by September.
An Alloa woman has received her passport after a 5-month delay, just days after STV News highlighted her plight. Madeline Spoage will now be able to travel to Poland to study. Earlier this week, we reported how the passport office had lost crucial identification documents.
And the oldest penguin at Edinburgh Zoo has died after she was attacked by a fox which broke into her enclosure on Wednesday night. The northern rockhopper, known as Mrs Wallowitz, was 35. In a statement, the zoo say her massive personality will be missed.
Glasgow has been announced as the only Scottish city shortlisted to host next year's Eurovision Song Contest. Ukraine were this year's winners, but the show's organisers decided the event can't be held there safely because of the ongoing war with Russia.
Instead, it'll be here in the UK, and despite Aberdeen and Edinburgh also putting in bids to host the contest, they failed to make it through to the second stage, as Courtney Cameron reports.
Glasgow's Hydro featured in a fictional Eurovision film, but could it be about to become reality?
The 7 cities shortlisted to host the 2023 Eurovision Song Contest are Glasgow.
After today's announcement, people in the city certainly hope so.
I would love to see the city host an event like that.
Anything that we can get that's a big major event can only benefit us.
This is a magnificent city and exactly the kind of backdrop.
With COVID and everything that's been happening, it's probably good. When I called you last night from Glasgow.
Eurovision superfans like this ABBA tribute band can hardly believe it.
We are super excited. When we heard the news this morning, we were all like, ah! I mean, that's just so special to be, if it was going to be in Glasgow, it'd be so special for us, wouldn't it?
Due to the conflict in Ukraine, the UK was given the chance to host Eurovision after their 2022 entrant Sam Ryder came second in the competition. The cities have been shortlisted based on their ability to meet a set of requirements that demonstrates they have the boom bang a bang it takes to host the event.
Glasgow has got everything. We've got the very high quality venue, we've got the all of the expertise, the infrastructure that's required to support that. We've got that extra special thing of the warmth of the Glasgow welcome.
Organisers say they won't be making their mind up until the autumn.
But until then, we're all hoping they'll take a chance on Glasgow. Courtney Cameron, STV News.
She was loving that. Now for one of the best stories we do every year on STV News. 12 sets of twins are getting ready to start school in one council area next week. Inverclyde has become known as Twinverclyde for its high rate of multiples, as Joanne Bonner reports.
The class of 2022 arriving 2 by 2. A dozen sets of twins will start Primary 1 in just a few days, whether they're raring to go with their best friend by their side or feeling a little more apprehensive about a whole new adventure.
I'm getting a new teacher.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I think Jack was real nervous. Really? Because we just have two chats together. We can play with the teddies as well. So that's how we like being twin brothers. Because I like to play with Revenge, who normally always goes to the same nursery as me.
And for their parents, it's a doubly exciting time too.
Crazy, but just good luck to the teachers. It's good to see them all in their new uniforms and stuff like that, and the other wee sets of twins going to the same schools and stuff like that, so it's really good, it's nice.
So for the school staff, is it double delight or double trouble?
Each set of twins are all individual, shall we say. Some prefer to be in the same class. Some parents prefer them to be separated when they come into school for different reasons, either to be more independent or more of a security network for each other because they've had each other for 5 years.
Very diplomatic. Well, after a great dress rehearsal, there's a few more days holiday before the real thing next week. Joanne Bonner, STV News.
Always raises a smile. Over to you now, Rama.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sports, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Good evening. New Motherwell manager Stevie Hamill says he wants his team to play with intensity and hopes supporters will enjoy the football under his reign. Hamill has signed a 2-year deal to succeed Graham Alexander. Our roundup of today's football news begins with the very latest at Fir Park. Stepping into his first senior managerial post, Stevie Hamill was the unanimous choice for the Motherwell board, and now the former Fir Park player wants to repay the faith they have shown in him. What sort of team can we see under you, Stevie?
A team that it plays with intensity, a team that the fans will come and enjoy watching play, and hopefully understand it's never always going to be perfect here. It's Motherwell, there's ups and downs every season. Hopefully there's more ups and downs. It's going to require a lot of hard work from everyone at the club, you know, the staff, every single member of staff. I've spoke to them already about that, about how every single member of staff that works in here is going to play a vital part in what we want to do going forward.
Across at Celtic, after Manchester United and Chelsea were linked with a move for Josip Juranovic, Ange Postecoglou says there's more development to come from the defender.
He had a strong season for us last year, and like the rest of the group, has come back this year looking to be better, and that's our job, to make sure that we keep improving these guys and challenging them. And Josip is one of those players. He's got a big year ahead of him. Obviously, he's got a World Cup to look forward to as well. So I know he's very, very motivated to do well for this football club.
Celtic face Kilmarnock this weekend, and Derek McInnes says he's aiming to make home advantage count.
I think it's a different game at home. I think most teams domestically, still the same challenge, playing against Celtic. But I think for us, being at home, and for any team domestically playing the Old Firm at home, you always feel that you can maybe show your teeth a wee bit more, land a few more blows during the game. I think in any of these types of games, if you can get off to a good start, if you can strike the first blow and get that goal, and give yourself something to hold on to.
Rangers will be aiming to make it 3 league wins out of 3 when they welcome St Johnstone to Ibrox, and in Paisley, St Mirren face Ross County.
It's going to be a tough game for us, you know. People are saying, it's a battle down the bottom. There's been 2 games played, 2 teams have had 2 good performances to an extent, and obviously we're at home, so to get 3 points we just set us on our way, and we're expecting a tough game.
Elsewhere, Livingston host Hibs and Hearts take on Dundee United. And that, folks, is all your sport tonight.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sports, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Sean is here with the weather and a name of clouds that only he can pronounce.
Well, of course, for many of us, very warm weather once again. Last night, my drive home, I noticed lots of smoke coming from the Kilpatrick Hills, so I headed out on a midnight drive to find out where it was coming from. And it was the western side towards Dumbarton, where there was a grass fire there last night. Now, just a word of warning, of course, country is now like a tinderbox after the dry weather, especially southern and eastern parts. So cigarettes, matches, barbecues, watch those over the weekend. Also last night, we were treated to some lovely noctilucent clouds. So when I was out with the fires, got to see these noctilucent clouds over Benlome, and you'll probably see those with the clearer skies around 11 o'clock at night during the weekend. Change coming though Sunday and Monday, but a scorcher of a day to come tomorrow for most of us. Let's look at the forecast.
The outlook for the day is calm and settled. TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
Well, a very warm and sunny evening to come. A little bit of misty weather, perhaps just coming into western parts of Isle at times, but for many of us it is dry, fine, and very warm to end the day. Got some high and low cloud along the east coast, and it looks as if that will spread its way towards Glasgow and Lanarkshire a little bit later on tonight. Temperatures about 13 to 15 degrees. So very early on tomorrow in central areas, you may wake up and think, it's a bit of a rubbish day, but don't worry, because that mist and low cloud will burn its way right back towards the east coast, and then we're back into blazing sunshine once again. As I've been mentioning all week, of course, the UV level still high, burn time 25 minutes to 30 minutes. Possibility of some heavy showers developing around South Lanarkshire and drifting towards Falkirk and Edinburgh a little bit later on the day. But look at those temperatures, particularly warm across southwestern parts of the country. Let's take a closer look, because I actually think tomorrow across parts of Glasgow, Renfrewshire and also Ayrshire, it will be our warmest day of the year. Temperatures will peak, you can see there Mauchline, up to 30 degrees Celsius. Darvel, Kilmarnock, 29 degrees. 29 in the centre of Glasgow. Paisley and Bishopton, 28 degrees, nudging into the low 80s in Fahrenheit. So an absolute scorcher of a day to come during tomorrow. We start to see a change on Sunday and into next week, turning more showery, and some of those showers will be thundery. Bye-bye.
TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
Now, news just in the last few minutes. 2 boys from West Lothian have beaten Beyonce to #1.
LF Systems, who made the track in their bedrooms, are now on course to break Lewis Capaldi's record for a consecutive weeks at #1, having only given up their day jobs last month. Here's Polly Bartlett.
It's the song that was born in a bedroom in Bathgate, and now it's keeping Beyonce off the top of the charts.
#1. Yeah, #1 in the charts for 6 weeks in a row, so it's mental, absolutely mental. Now we're here in Edinburgh in the Fringe, so I'm going to have a wee drink after this. So.
There's Drake, Beyonce, all the rest of it's just 2 guys from West Lothian. It's crazy, it's just crazy.
Connor and Sean sat down to chat to us fresh off the plane from Ibiza, and later this summer they'll be performing in Princess Street Gardens. It's a far cry from their day jobs in West Lothian.
Well, I worked in a petrol station on Lithgow.
I was a roofer, and it was good, but this is definitely better. So.
They might be behind the song of this summer, but Connor and Sean's mums aren't letting the fame get to their heads.
See, I've never made my bed and that. Right. Don't get let's get to your head. You know what I mean? Those flash still Stephen, mum and dad, still scared.
Even still now, still make music in our bedrooms there. So
we're most comfortable, I suppose. Meet them in there, making tunes in there.
Hopefully we can move into a studio soon though.
If Afraid to Feel stays at the top of the charts for 2 more weeks, it will break Lewis Capaldi's Scottish record for consecutive weeks at number 1.
Lewis is a big supporter there. I don't know if he will be for much longer if we keep going freestyle. Everyone's so lovely about it, everyone local and everyone else, everyone's so nice about it.
Obviously be able to do this for a job, something that we never thought. I mean, we hoped that we'd get to this point, but now we're actually here, we just hope that we can maintain it.
Tonight, the duo will be partying in Edinburgh to celebrate the success of their song. It's one that gets us all up on the dance floor. Polly Bartlett, STV News, Edinburgh.
Well done them, and hopefully they will maintain it. Finally today marks the opening of the Edinburgh International Film Festival, celebrating 75 years of bringing premieres and movies to the capital.
Well, Laura Boyd is live on the red carpet for us now with more about what we can expect from a packed week of film screenings and events ahead. Well, how is it looking, Laura?
Well, if you are a film fan, then the Edinburgh International Film Festival is very much the place to be across the next 7 days. There are so many events going on, from premieres to screenings to workshops. There's a brilliant one this weekend in St Andrew's Square. It's Film Fest in the city. Get the family along to that because it's a free event showcasing loads of blockbuster movies, loads of classics, so perfect to enjoy a movie outdoors in the sunshine. But speaking of sunshine, tonight on the red carpet, it is the UK premiere of After Sun, and I am joined now by one of the stars, Mr. Paul Mescal. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us about this movie.
This movie is a beautiful film that Charlotte wrote and directed. It centres around a father and his daughter, and I think it's a really beautiful, intimate portrayal of that. Yeah.
And the Edinburgh International Film Festival, it's the first one back properly after lockdown. You were very much a standout star of lockdown. Everyone fell in love with Connell and Normal People. I mean, has it opened doors to lead to films like this?
Yeah, well, I think it's totally the reason that I'm standing here, getting to make films like this. It's been a strange 2 years, and to be standing here on a red carpet is like a truly incredible experience. Yeah.
Incredible for you, but incredible for you, Charlotte, because you grew up coming to the Edinburgh International Film Festival. You're the director and writer of this. How does it feel to bring it back here?
Yeah, it feels phenomenal. My last experiences at the film festival were sitting on the floor, waiting for the box office to open, trying to get tickets for whatever I could. So bringing it home is just phenomenal. It's unbelievable.
And we can see it at the film festival, although I think tickets might be sold out. But when will it be released?
18th of November in Europe and the UK.
And in the UK.
Yeah.
18th.
Well, we can't wait for that. It's definitely one to see. Loads going on across the festival over the coming days, and more tonight on What's on Scotland at 7, isn't there, Emma?
Yes, great plugging there, Laura. For our show, What's on Scotland, it's on in half an hour's time, where we've been speaking to some of the stars of the Edinburgh festivals, including Alan Cumming, who's here performing his one-man show, Burn, and he's been in some rather serious training for his role as a national bard.
My body's in pretty good shape and I feel quite strong, but it's exhausting. I mean, every morning I wake up and I feel like I know one of those old cars that you've got to crank up, it just takes a while. And I kind of like this to, just sort of see what needs to be looked at.
Here, Emma, don't
I wasn't going to say anything. He's rocking some good eyeliner, though. I think you could do with some of that.
Thank you for watching. Enjoy the weekend.
Bye-bye.